everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to the Hungaroring here in Hungary, just outside the wonderful city of Budapest. We are here for the second event of the 2016 FIA Formula 3 European Championship. I'm Chris Hartley, and we've got 3 races for you this weekend, as ever, in this 30-event season. We had 3 absolute storming races in the opening rounds a few weeks ago at Paul Ricard Circuit in France, which brought us 3 different race winners. Here you can see the championship standings. It was actually a driver who didn't win a race but finished second in all 3. Nick Cassidy from New Zealand, the Japanese Formula 3 champion, doing his first full season in this campaign with 54 points that leads the standings. Lance Stroll, who won the first race of the season, is second in the standings. You saw there with 35 points, his Prema Power Team teammates, and also up there on 35 points, Max Gunther, who also races for Prema Power Team, who have won the Drivers' and Teams Championship in every single season since this championship was relaunched in its current guise in 2012. And Max Gunther is the driver that is going to start the race for the 3rd time in his career on pole position here in Formula 3. He is also going to get his 4th and 5th pole positions later on in the weekend, because he's the man that topped the times at the end in all 3 qualification sessions. Qualifying, which was very lively to say the least. The times are actually, for Formula 3 standards, relatively spread out. But it was everything else that was going on in qualifying yesterday that was the real talking point. Lots and lots of drivers having their fastest lap times taken away from them. In fact, several lap times taken away from them for exceeding track limits, with turn 4 being one of the key culprits. So in the first qualifying session, there were 40 lap times in total that were taken away from drivers. George Russell thought that he was going to be on pole position, his maiden pole position, and then about 40 minutes after the session ended, by the time they got through all of the paperwork, he was put back. His 2nd fastest lap time was used, and that is why Max Gunther has been promoted up onto pole position, albeit by just 80 thousandths of a second. So George Russell there, the former BRDC Formula 4 champion, in his 2nd season of Formula 3 racing, just as is Max Gunther. He, for the new high-tech Grand Prix team, is going to be lining up 2nd on the grid. He thought he got pole by 18 thousandths of a second. In the end, he starts in 2nd place, frustrated, of course, but it's still a very good result for him and for the team, which have really hit the ground running here. George doesn't have much luck in qualifying, does he? Because he was going to be on the front row for 2 of the races in the first round in France, and then a technical infringement put him to the back of the grid for that one. So a little bit frustrating, but he's very quick. And there is another quick young driver, Ralph Aron, the Estonian, who won the Italian Formula 4 Championship last year. I spoke with Ralph after the end of the 3rd race in France. He was quite hard on himself. He said, I made some rookie mistakes, and being a rookie, it's just an easy excuse. I want to do better. And he was really hard on himself, even though he had, some good results and certainly showed plenty of pace. A couple of 7th place finishes, but he wants more, wants points, wants podiums, wants wins. He's a hungry young driver, and he was more pleased with himself after a very good qualifying performance to 3rd place yesterday. And there's another of his teammates for Prema, the Italian squad, Lance Stroll, the Canadian driver, who's also somebody that came up through Formula 4 racing. In his maiden season in car racing, he showed his early promise by winning 10 times and winning the Italian Formula 4 Championship with Prema. He currently is 2nd in the championship standings, a 1st, a 5th, and an unlucky retirement in the 2nd race at Paul Ricard, one of the drivers involved in an accident at the first corner. There is Joel Eriksson, who has really impressed many people here in Formula 3 with just how cool he is. He got 3rd place in only his 3rd race in F3 at Paul Ricard. And we were all wowing about him in the press conference and said, did you expect to be on the podium already? He said, well, yes, I was quite quick in practice and testing, so yes, I did. Then we raved about one of his overtaking moves, and he said, that was all right, just a fairly standard move. So he's a very, very cool character. This is his best grid. He didn't do so well in 2nd qualifying. He admitted to me this morning he made a couple of mistakes, so he wants to capitalise upon this one, that's for sure. So there you saw the 2 drivers on the 3rd row of the grid, with Nico Carey, one of the Red Bull-backed drivers, starting alongside him. The SMP Formula 4 champion from last year is going to start 6th on the grid. And there's Nick Cassidy, who wasn't quite comfortable with the car and with the setup yesterday. He had pretty solid sessions, but perhaps not quite as high up the grid as he or we expected. But he's still got good pace, and he's got consistent grid performances as well, unlike some drivers. So Nick Cassidy's going to be 6th on the grid for race 2 and 5th on the grid for race 3 after the 2nd qualifying session yesterday. Sergio Sete Camara, another Brazilian driver who is backed by Red Bull, and amongst his highlights in his rookie season of Formula 3 last year, a podium finish, third place in the prestigious F3 Masters race at Zandvoort with this team, Motorpark, with which he's competing this season. A team based near Oosterschleben, right next to the raceway, who started their career in Formula Koenig and then developed through Formula Renault, Porsche Super Cup, winning the GP2 title a few years ago as well. And the German team with a very strong driver lineup this year. And there's Callum Ilott, who picked up his first win in Formula 3 at Paul Ricard by taking victory in race number 2 a few weeks ago. He's currently 4th in the standings. He also had a very good drive in the first race from the back of the grid to get up into the points at Paul Ricard in race number 1. So showed lots of promise. Had a bit of a bruising day yesterday, but he is somebody I think we can watch to perhaps come forward in these races. Alessio Lorandi qualified well in all of the sessions yesterday, the Italian driver who is here with the Carlin Motorsport team, also in his second season of Formula 3 racing. So he's 10th on the grid for this one, but he went even better in session 2. And for race 2 later on today, he's going to be starting 7th on the grid, is Lorandi. So a very quick young driver from Brescia, just 17 years of age. Best result last year was a 6th place finish around the streets of Pau in France, where the championship goes to next in a couple of weeks' time. Ryan Tefeta, the American driver, also with Carlin, hugely successful British team who race in pretty much every single seater category you can think of and are successful in it. Ryan in his second season of competition too. Not been racing at all for that long. Like most of the other drivers have karting experience and international karting experience. Ryan more or less came straight into cars a few years ago. But certainly shows at times some good pace. There's Ben Barnicoat, another rookie in the championship. One of only a couple of drivers that have been here before, because the last time we came to the Hungaroring with Formula 3 was in 2014. And of course, a lot of these drivers weren't on the grid, or certainly not in Formula 3. But he has raced here last year in the Formula Renault Euro Cup. More about that in a moment, because there's some talking points regarding the surface of the circuit. But we continue to walk down the grid with Guan Yu, the former European karting champion from Shanghai. Did a very, very good job at Paul Ricard to get himself a maiden podium finish. Had good pace all the way through the weekend and has gone well in qualifying here today, particularly the second qualifying session. So he's somebody that will be looking for points again. He was second for much of the race at Paul Ricard, but it was on the restart that Nick Cassidy, who had led the race, and then had an off at one point. The safety car came out, bunched them up for one more lap, and Nick managed to get past him on the restart, but it was still a very good third place for Guan Yu. Mikkel Jensen there, the sole driver for the Muka Motorsport team for the time being. He's going to be lining up next, 14th on the grid. Antoine Hubert, who's also come from Formula Renault Euro Cup, 4th in the top 5 in the championship last year, the French driver. So somebody else that has raced here around the Hungaroring before. And they're looking resplendent is Pedro Piquet, son of Nelson Piquet, who was the driver who won the first ever Grand Prix to be held at this circuit the year it was opened in 1986, 30 years ago. Nelson also won the second race in 1987. You can see in the Brabham colour scheme there. Brabham, with which Nelson won his first 2 world titles in 81 and 83, and with Nelson Piquet's helmet design, Pedro Piquet. Peter Lee there, the Chinese driver, back for a second season in action. Harrison Newey, son of Adrian Newey, and somebody else like George Russell that came up through the British Racing Drivers Club Formula 4 Championship. He is with the Van Amersfoort racing team, who he showed well, a very good, promising start to his campaign in the first round, but he's been a little bit off the pace here so far this weekend, but he's already been in the points, Harrison Newey, with a 9th place finish. Another driver that was unlucky to be taken out in the accident in race 2. And a glimpse there of Arjun Maini, the very quick Indian driver, who is struggling with the car this weekend big time. A lot of head scratching going on down at the team. He's a couple of seconds off the pace. The 3 Bond with T-Sport team have been working really hard to try and change the setup, change the car. Between the 2 qualifying sessions yesterday, they changed the entire back end of the car to try and rectify the problem. Karan Chandok, who is driver coaching Arjun Maini, the ex-Formula 1 racer, saying that, you know, Arjun is not that far off the pace, the car is not far off the pace. It must be something, you know, more dramatic than that, but they're still struggling to get that car up to pace, which is very frustrating for them this weekend. So he'll be at the back of the grid. And news that there'll only be 19 drivers on the grid, so 20 were due to start the race. We lost Raoul Hyman, who did the first round. We have 21 in Paul Ricard. 20 drivers, because one driver has been excluded from this first race of the weekend, Nikita Mazepin, who qualified 11th in the session. And late last night, the stewards ruled that he would be not allowed to take part in this first race due to unsportsmanlike behaviour in the paddock. after free practice 2. So he will be in action later on today, but he's going to be missing the grid for this one, which has shuffled everybody from 11th downwards up 1 place on the grid. So 19 starters here for this second race of the season. Max Gunther on pole position for the Prema team. As you may notice, if you've seen races at the Hungaroring before, that track looks pretty shiny and new, doesn't it? Well, it's just been resurfaced, the whole circuit, and it's made a huge difference to the track. Pole position time here 2 years ago, set by Esteban Ocon, was 1 minute 35.5. In the second qualifying session yesterday, the pole time was 1 minute 33.3, so 2 seconds plus quicker than it was 2 years ago. And largely that is down to the surface of the track. And indeed, Ben Barnicoat was saying to me, in olden times, there were a couple of corners where you had to turn in earlier than you really wanted to, just to miss some of the bumps on the circuit. He said, but now you can drive the lines that you really want to. Turn 2, somewhere he said, you know, that was a corner that was very bumpy. You took a really odd line to get through there just to miss the bumps. But now it's super grippy. Ben loving driving this car. He said, yes, I've raced here before, but in a 2-litre Formula Renault, compared to this car, it's a very, very different experience. And he was beaming when he was talking me around the lap and telling me just how much grip there is through some of the fast turns with all the aerodynamics on these cars. It's hugely powerful, the Formula 3 cars. So it's the 4th race of the season about to get underway here. 2-litre direct fuel injected 240 brake horsepower cars getting ready to race. They can do 0 to 100 kilometres an hour in just over 2.5 seconds, these cars, and top speeds of about 280 kilometres an hour. So they are hugely, hugely quick, and great experience for drivers wanting to progress to top echelons of single-seater racing, namely Formula 1. And of course we had Max Verstappen, who raced in this championship 2 years ago, who is doing a very good job and making waves in Formula 1, having leapt straight from this to the top category. So it's, as with all the races this year, is going to be 33 minutes plus 1 lap, slightly different race distances than we had last year. So that's the way it will shape up. And the last couple of rows of the grid are just lining up, ready to go racing. So it's Max Gunther on pole position for Prema in the number 17 car. George Russell, number 12 for High-Tech GP alongside. Ralph Aron for Prema, number 16, starts third. His teammate Lance Stroll, number 1, is alongside. Joel Eriksson for Motor Park and Nico Carey complete the top 6. And we are about to go racing here at the Hungaroring. It's round 4 of the championship. We are underway. Max Gunther has not made the very best of starts. George Russell has. And George is going to be going for the lead here, surely on the run down towards turn number 1. Ralph Aron's trying to go around the outside. Lorenzi further back. He's trying to swoop around the outside of everybody. Into the right-hand turn 1 they go. And George Russell gets the lead of the race. Max Gunther second, and having to fight hard here to stay in second place because Lance Stroll has made a lightning run through turn number 1. He's already up to third. He might be about to go second through turn 2. A real steep drop downhill, which the TV pictures really don't do justice to. It's a really steep drop down through here, down to the valley, and then uphill up towards the very quick turn at turn 4, where they were already wide yesterday. Stroll didn't quite manage to get through. Yes, he did. Gunther has dropped back. So Ralph Aron and Lance Stroll both making good progress at the start of the race to get ahead of the pole sit-up. George Russell got him into turn number 1, so Max is down to 4th place. That was Callum Ilott off into the gravel trap and out of the car, I'm afraid. So a real shape here at the start of the race. The driver going, as I said, very well in the championship after the first round. And there you can see Alessio Lorandi, the Italian driver, in the number 4 car, the bright yellow, or bright green and blue Carling Cup. And he's trying to chase down the number 9 of Sergio Sette Camara in the Motor Park machine. We've got yellow flags. We're going to get the safety car. And presumably for this, for the Van Amersfoort car of Callum Ilott, which is in the gravel trap. So already on the first lap of the race, the safety car comes out. Max Gunther, who struggled off the line a couple of times at Paul Ricard, has dropped back behind George Russell and a couple of his teammates as well to 4th position in the number 17 car. So it's George Russell that the safety car will pick up as the race leader. Already a race winner in Formula 3 in his very first weekend in the championship last year back at Silverstone. In fact, his very first race, he had an absolute stormer. It was coming together with Charles Leclerc, who went on to win the Rookie Championship. George Russell came from the back of the field, got himself up into the points at Silverstone, then won a race later in the weekend. But of course, that was the one circuit that George knew. Steep learning curve. But George having a very successful campaign in the end to finish runner-up in the rookie standings and in the top 6 of the overall championship. switching to the high-tech team this year from Carlin. There is high-tech GP Oliver Oakes, the team boss. This new setup. David Hales also has been involved with Formula 3 for many, many years, setting up the team. And as I say, they've hit the ground running. They've got a very good driver lineup. And we'll get a replay now of the start. So, top left of your picture, watch for Max Gunther, who's on the outside towards turn number 1, just dropping back behind George Russell. There from the head-on angle. Yeah, just got a bit of wheel spin, did Max Gunther. So watch Ralph Veron then coming after him around the outside. That Stroll didn't actually fly off the line, to be honest, but he made all his ground through the corners, through turns 1 and turn 2. Shaking of the head there from the Prema team. But, of course, they're still in a very strong position. They're not winning, but they're 2nd, 3rd and 4th. A replay, we didn't see exactly what it was, but Callum getting out of the Mercedes these days, Mercedes-powered Van Amersfoort racing car. So the safety car is out. That car is going to be very quickly recovered by the marshals here at the Hungaroring, and that looks like it's coming out of turn 2. So that was where he came to grief. Safety car lights are out, which means we're going to get the race restarted. So 3 different winners at Paul Ricard. Lance Stroll in race 1, Callum Island in race 2, and Max Gunther winning a fantastic race 3, in which he came under huge pressure from his teammate Nick Cassidy, who lunged into the last corner, got alongside Max Gunther. They were neck and neck across the line, but Max just about fended him off to take the victory. 4 drivers that have been race winners in this championship so far in their careers include Max Gunther now, Lance Stroll as well, a race winner. Nick Cassidy looking for his first win as we get the race back underway here at 4.8 kilometres long Hungaroring, and we are racing once again. It's a very good restart this for George Russell. He's got his best grid of the weekend in this race, so he's going to make the most of this, and he'll be fired up after missing out on pole position yesterday. Certainly wasn't the only one to lose times. I think it was Harrison Newey managed to lose 6 times. 6 of his times were taken away through qualifying, and in free practice, I'm told 400 lap times were taken away, so an average of 20 per driver over the free practice sessions, losing their lap times due to exceeding track limits. So they have to be super careful about that today to avoid any penalties. There we see Ben Barnicoat has made a decent start. He was pretty happy with his pace, but just said he didn't quite get the laps together in qualifying. The tyres, particularly in qualifying 1, where it was much hotter, were only really giving them 2, maybe 3 laps of absolute flat-out pace. And I'm told that some drivers out there, some teams are a little bit worried about, looking after the tyres, particularly this afternoon, where it's predicted to get quite warm again, 18, 19, 20 degrees. It's a little bit cooler this morning, and it really does affect the lap times. There was a half a second difference between the lap times in free practice 1 yesterday morning in these sorts of conditions, and then when it got hot in the afternoon, they were half a second slower in qualifying 1, and then in the evening, when it cooled down a bit for the second qualifying session, again they got about half a second quicker. So it makes a very, very big difference here. Also, depending on what cars have been out in the support races before you as well, can affect how things are out on the track. So the drivers come through. It's a fabulous first lap on the restart, isn't it, for George Russell, who leads the way. He's going to be more than half a second clear of Ralph Veron. In fact, 9/10 of a second clear. Lance Stroll in 3rd place, 4th place, the ex-Paulson and Max Gunther. John Ericsson 5th. And then we've got Nico Carey in 6th place, Nick Cassidy in 7th position. There he is, number 2, Nick Cassidy, just ahead of Sergio Camara in 8th place. Alessio Lorandi is 9th, Ryan Sveta in 10th place. And Guan Yuju, the rookie driver, the Chinese driver, up to 11th place. Just lost the 1 driver, Callum Island, by the looks of things. And most drivers holding station on that lap. Harrison Newey, the only one to make a move, really, on the restarted lap. He got past Peter Lee to move up to 16th place. So climbing up the hill then, just clipping the curbs. Another feature apparently of the circuit with it being resurfaced is that the level of the track is much higher, and therefore effectively the curbs have become a little bit lower, which might be part of the reason why drivers are taking a bit too much curb and crossing the white lines and exceeding the track limits at times. So there is Ben Barnicoat in the number 24 car, making good progress in his first season of Formula 3. Here to learn, he says, here to learn from every session. He was telling me it's a bit of a dark art getting these cars off the line as well, the preload that you have to do, the whole system that you have to run through in F3. So that's something he was really practicing yesterday, albeit from the pit lane during the practice sessions. But he's been making some decent starts, and again, he's getting himself in the mix here, Ben Barnicoat. 12th place. Dropping back a little bit from where he was, but the race leaders come through. The gap between the top two is still 9/10 of a second. Quickest through the first sector was Ralph Aron, quicker through the second sector was George Russell, and quickest through the third sector was Max Gunther, who has now set the fastest lap, 1 minute 36.6 seconds for the German driver, currently running in 4th place. Max Gunther trying to close in on Lance Stroll, his teammate. These two are certainly going to be two title contenders looking at it. The 18-year-old Bavarian, Max Gunther, determined to make up for losing 3 places off the start of the race. George Russell was determined to get away from these 3 Prema cars. And really here, High Tech to take the fight to Prema to try and break their dominance. Now, Ben Barnicoat has got himself in a good position here, onto the tail of Alessio Lorandi, battling to try and get himself a little bit further up the order and up into the points, closing up, but it is notoriously hard to overtake here at the Hungaroring. Although a lot of the drivers saying they love the circuit. George Russell said this is his favourite one so far. There is Lorandi running wide, so he lost the place to Guan Yuju, and that is why Ben Barnicoat is now right behind him in the race. George Russell, 0.9 of a second clear, keeping steady lap time so far, keeping arm's length to Ralph Aron, the rookie in 2nd place, the Estonian. Of course, he's looking for his first podium in only his 2nd weekend of the championship. A couple of 7th place finishes, a retirement in race 2 at Paul Ricard for Ralph Aron. He lost a wheel in that race. The incident at turn 2, it says on my screen, is going to be investigated after the race. So the stewards will take a look at that and see what comes of it. Manuel Pirro, the 5-time Le Mans champion, is amongst the stewards this weekend, keeping an eye on things. A busy weekend so far for the stewards, with all of these lap times being taken away. And we've got George now, only 0.7 of a second clear at the fastest lap of the race, going to Ralph Aron last time around. He was a couple of tenths quicker than the race leader, so they can see to the eye, slightly coming down is the gap. And the Estonian, very good on the brakes, closing up. Lance Stroll is on a similar pace, slightly slower than Ralph Aron, but he's slightly quicker than George Russell, about a tenth of a second. Ryan Vetter coming through the picture, up to 9th place now. Guan Yuju up to 10th. Alessio Lorandi, we saw running wide, and runs wide again there. Just a little bit ragged at the moment in the Carlin car for whatever reason. Just out of the points now, 11th with Ben Barnicoat 12th, trying to get up onto his tail. So George Russell now only half a second clear in this race. His gap has almost been halved here by Ralph Aron. He's starting to come after George. So George will keep one eye on the mirrors here. His lap time, 1 minute 36.1 last time around. As I say, was 2 tenths off the pace of Ralph Aron. And Ralph was very quick in the first sector, but the second sector, George responding, getting the best second sector time of anybody. They go across the line, and there's not much between them. So Ralph Aron was slightly quicker, but only by 82 thousandths of a second on that lap. So it's minimal, absolutely minimal. But he's good on the brakes again into turn 1. You can see the gap coming down. He's certainly pulling clear now of Lance Stroll in 3rd place. Max Gunther in 4th. Joel Eriksson, the Swedish driver, still going well in 5th place. The runner-up in the German Formula 4 Championship last year. Former Swedish karting champion, looking very strong for Motorpark. There he is in 5th place. In the background, in 6th place, Nico Kari is just behind him, 7 tenths behind him. In qualifying, with all the lap times being taken away, the gaps between drivers on the grid was much bigger than we've come to expect in Formula 3, where you normally have maybe a second covering most of the grid. It was a lot more spread out than that yesterday, but it wasn't, I don't think, a true reflection of just how close it's likely to be. Here's a replay of Peter Lee having a look up the inside of Harrison Newey and going through. It's turn 2, and that was a nice move from the Chinese driver to gain a place. A little way down the order, but he has got himself now up into 16th position with that move. There we see our race leader there, George Russell, number 12 in the high-tech machine. Got a podium in the very first race at Paul Ricard, but then, as I say, when he had qualified on the front row, a technical infringement to do with the amount of fuel left in the car at the end of qualifying, and meant that he was disqualified from the second qualifying session, and rather than starting on the front row, he had to start on the last row of the grid, at the back of the grid, which rather ruined his weekend, and he wasn't able to get into the points in either races 2 or 3. although race 2 he was up into the top 10 up until the last lap of the safety car. So he now starts to struggle a bit, running wide here, and Ralph Aron has got better grip, better traction. He's got his nose in front here. We're going to see a change of lead. George Russell knows he's got the better line for the next corner, holds the inside line, and George hangs on. But this is going to be a fight. It'll be all right, there was only 2 laps to go. There's 20 minutes to go, plus 1 lap. So George has got a long second half of the race here, and he's been joined by more Prema cars because Lance Stroll is coming after him as well. So too then is Max Gunther. So this could be an interesting race. There's also 5 in the queue now because Joel Eriksson has caught up to the lead group. So George Russell is going to have to position that car exactly right in every corner, on every lap of the race now, to avoid perhaps not just one, but maybe several cars coming through. It's a sort of situation where if you take off the racing line, they're all going to come charging through and you won't be able to get back your position. So he is really going to have to defend here without, in a sense, over-defending. If you start looking in your mirrors too much, going too defensive into the corners, tightening up in your lines, and compromising your exit speed, then you're probably going to cause yourself more trouble. So he needs to be aware of what's behind him, and he will be. But he also, to a point, needs to just keep driving as best he can and hope that in the second half of the race, perhaps he and the car are able to look after the tyres a bit better, and maybe he'll be able to pull away again. The Prema cars pushing on, the Motor Park car, and then number 22, Joel Eriksson. I don't think it'll be long before we got 6 for the lead of the race either, because you've got Nico Carey, the Finnish driver, coming after them as well. Those 6 are a long way clear of Nick Cassidy in 7th place. It just hasn't quite got the pace so far this weekend. Sergio Seti Camara is 8th, Ryan Savetta in 9th place, Guan Yu Zhu in 10th position still, and the other drivers in the points. Fastest first sector last time around of the entire race went to Alessio Lorandi, and here we go, wheel-to-wheel action. Max Gunther trying a move here on his teammate Lance Stroll to try and get 3rd place. He got alongside, but Lance up the hill was able to fend him off, and the Canadian holds on to 3rd place. But a big effort there from Max Gunther, and we can see just going out a shot the 2 leaders getting side by side here. Ralph Aron going for the lead of the race here, and he goes through. Lovely move from the Estonian into the lead of the race. George Russell fighting hard. Prema love that. What a star this is in the making, the rookie. I spoke to him yesterday. He said, you know, I never went that well in karting. He was always very quick, but he didn't always have the best of results. You could always see the potential, though, with Ralph when he was racing in Rotax Euro Challenge karting. And my goodness, he's taken like a duck to water to cars and full of confidence, doing really well here. So could we about to be witnessing a 4th different winner of the season? George Russell now still has to work hard to fend everybody else off here and try and keep a podium position. But great to see him leading, great to see High-Tech up the front again. All the effort that must have gone into putting this team together over the winter. Oh, running wide there, coming out of the final turn at turn 16 is Lance Stroll, and Gunther will pass him, I think, maybe 2. He's going to come under pressure from Joel Eriksson into the first corner. Here we go, on the brakes. Now Max Gunther didn't get past him. Eriksson has got in between them already. So there's been a change for 4th. There wasn't somehow a change for 3rd. Lance Stroll has still managed to keep them all behind him, but there's a queue forming up here. Joel Eriksson, we know from Paul Ricard, he's not afraid to have a go. There's a lock-up then for Max Gunther, who is now going to give a place, possibly, to Nico Carey. But no, he fights hard, he digs in, puts the wheel on the grass and refuses to give the place up. This is becoming breathless stuff here. Another cracking Formula 3 race developing. So somewhere Gunther dropped back, and now we see coming through the number 2 car, making a move. That's Nick Cassidy on Nico Carey, and he's suddenly joined the party as well. So they said Kamara rather, and he's having a good battle. You've got Ryan Vetter in the mix as well, who's slopped up the brakes and gone through, but running wide on the way into the chicane here. 2 wheels over the curbs, rejoins and loses the place back, probably gifts it back as well, knowing that he might have been in trouble with the officials if he'd gained the place by cutting the corner. So sensibly there, the American let Kamara back through. So great scrap here for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th positions. 11th and 12th are just behind as well, in the guise of Lorandi and Barnicoat. Then Jensen and Huber are also joining the battle. So we've got a huge scrap going on for the lead of the race, as we see Pedro Piquet having a look at the inside of Antoine Huber, the French driver. Here is Lorandi, and that's the inside line on Vetter, and he will get through and gain a place. Piquet still involved in that scrap as well, a little bit further back down the top 10, or just outside the top 10. I mean, he's 15th, but he's about a second away from being in 10th place. Here we see George Russell coming under more and more attack here from Lance Stroll. It's Ralph Aron that leads the race. Suddenly, where's he gone, you might be thinking. He's still leading. He's 4 seconds clear, Ralph Aron. George Russell in second place. Car 4 is getting a warning for respecting the track limits, or disrespecting the track limits. That's Alessio Lorandi. And so the official's keeping an eye on him. So Ralph Aron suddenly gone. 4 seconds clear, like a rocket ship. He has disappeared into orbit. George Russell still clinging on to second place here. Third place is Lance Stroll, who did really well not to lose third place a couple of laps ago when he went wide coming out of the final turn. Possibly helped by the fact that Joel Eriksson was busy getting past Max Gunther for fourth place just behind. And you got Nico Carey in the mix as well. Gunther getting a bit offline as well through the chicane there, staying just ahead of Nico Carey, who is desperate to get past him. If they keep fighting each other, there's a chance that this next group of cars, led by number 2 Nick Cassidy, could close the gap to the top 6 as well. Well, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, because the leader is long since disappeared. Ralph Aron, 1 minute 36.1, his last lap time. In second place, George Russell, 1 minute 38.4. So he's over 2 seconds a lap quicker at the moment, Ralph Aron, than George Russell, who in fairness to him is busy trying to defend from a lot of Prema cars. Well, and the motorpark car of Joel Eriksson and Nico Carey, of course, also from motorpark, and the number 10 machine is in this mix. Across the start-finish line they go, just about halfway through this race now. 6 seconds clear, 6.5 seconds clear is Ralph Aron. George Russell fighting the inside line. Lance Stroll being patient, but you can see he's itching to get past. Tries a different line coming through turn 1. Careful not to give your own place up here to Joel Eriksson, who comes alongside. It's the left-hander coming up, so Lance should be okay. Sticks to his racing line, trying to stick around the outside of him, though, is Joel Eriksson. There's a right-hander coming up, but he runs out of road, runs out of grip, has to drop out of it, and then Max Gunther gets a better run through the corner as they come down the hill, charging up now towards turn number 4. Number 17 with the yellow helmet, Max Gunther, trying to get himself back up a place, and he will, and Nico Carey will try and get past his teammate as well, but the door is closed just in time. So that was Joel Eriksson losing a place as a result of trying to gain one when he went wheel to wheel through the first couple of corners with Lance Stroll. Stroll doing really well there, not to be put off his line and not to succumb to the huge amount of pressure that the Swede was putting on him. He just stuck to his racing line. He was fully aware that Eriksson was alongside him, but he didn't panic and kept the position, and then Eriksson dropping back because he lost momentum coming out of the corner. We saw Antoine Hubert on the screen there, number 21, who's retired from the race. Callum Ilott and Antoine Hubert now both out of the running. Ryan Vetter, who was running well in the points, has dropped down to 13th place on that last lap, so struggling, having a bit of a rocky patch in the race. This is the battle for second position here at the Hungaroring, the first race of the weekend. This is the battle for 7th position. Number 2, Nick Cassidy, still with a queue behind him here. He's fighting for wins at Paul Ricard. He's fighting just to try and pick up a few points here. He's got to miss one round of the championship because he's competing as a Lexus factory driver in Super GT racing in Japan. Here we go again. Lance Stroll trying to come alongside around the outside. The inside line is covered. George Russell under a bit less pressure that time. Max Gunther is still very much a factor in this race. Here's the squabble then for 7th position. Has Lorandi got ahead of Cassidy? I think he has. Yes, he has. Up into 7th place for Alessio Lorandi then. Number 2, Nick Cassidy, down to 8th position. Sergio Seta Camara just behind the Brazilian in 9th place. Ben Barnicoat has moved up a couple of positions. He's up into the points now, Ben. In the Racing Steps Foundation back car. Racing Steps, who are fundamentally instrumental in the development of Ben's career and many young British drivers' careers in racing. And they've got another young star here, Ben Barnicoat, up into the points. The Autumn Trophy champion at the back end of last year in BRDC Formula 4. Last 2 years ago, he raced in Formula Renault in the Northeast European Championship and won that title. 4th in the Euro Cup in Formula Renault last year as well, and a very, very strong karting pedigree. He has had a European champion, something that George Russell was able to achieve as well. There he is, George Russell in the number 12 car. Eyes on the mirrors. He's got Lance Stroll darting this way than that, trying to fill his mirrors, trying to put him offline. But George is a cool customer here, and he's not going to give this place up. The team on the radio to their drivers at Prema, just trying to give them as much information as they can while they're embroiled in this battle. And there we can see still tight in that battle for, well, 8th place now. Seta Camara and Cassidy still going at it hammer and tongs. A little casual glance in the mirrors Left then right. He looks, where are you, Lance Stroll? I know you're going to come from somewhere, but actually Lance wasn't quite close enough to have a look at the outside or the inside into turn 1. Again, you can see George just checking the mirrors all the time there. There is Lance Stroll, who also has to be well aware of the fact that Max Gunther is with him now. Max, we know, has been very quick. Be ruining that start. There's Ben Barneycoat, who is ahead now of the number 23 car of Guan Yu Zhu, and into the points, as I've said. Gained a couple of places 2 laps ago. They're looking to just pick up some points here this weekend after a difficult qualifying session. He said to me yesterday, if I'm getting into the points in race 1, I'll be pretty happy with that. It's going to be tough from where I am in the middle of the pack on the grid. And it looks like he might just do that. Well, the longer this goes on, the more comfortable, in a way, George Russell is looking. I'm sure it's incredibly hard work out there. It's pretty hot in the cockpits with all the fireproofs they've got on, and it's a very physical track, this. And there's not much respite. There's not much in the way of straights here. A big go-kart track, really. They love it, they enjoy it, but it is a hard race, particularly when you've got the queuing up behind you. Have a look at the background there. We've got more wheel-to-wheel action here. Max Gunther about to lose another place, is he? Yes, he's going to go to the back of that group, I think. So to lose another place, Max, sort of 1 step forward, 1 step back for him. And coming into the mix there, Nico Carey getting up the inside. And Lance Stroll's going to lose another place. Joel Eriksson will go through as well. Suddenly the 2 Prema cars have dropped right back down the order, and they've been caught hand over fist by Alessio Lorandi. Look at the back of the group there. Where has he come from? He's gone 4 seconds quicker last time around than this pack, who are all really struggling for times. There's George Russell. So same situation, different driver trying to attack him for 2nd place. This time he's got Nico Carey to try and fend off. Further back, you've got Ben Barneycoat going wheel to wheel now with Nick Cassidy as they go into turn 1. This is for 9th place. Nick is in danger of dropping out of the points here. Ben Barneycoat much quicker at this stage of the race, trying to get through. The lap times are really starting to go off for people now as well. Ralph Aron, not very long ago, was doing 1 minute 36s. The race leader is now doing 1 minute 39s, mid 1 minute 39. So those tyres on this track, these temperatures, it is something they're going to have to consider. These fairly long 33 minute plus 1 lap races. See Piquet getting in the mix as well there, trying to get on Harrison Newey in the black and orange Van Amersfoort car, battling for a 14th position. Now, car number 17, cutting the chicane, will be investigated after the race, it says on the timing screen. That's Max Gunther, who's not the only one that's sort of put 2 wheels over the curbs there. They're going to look at it after the race and decide whether or not he gained any kind of advantage from that. So the stewards will look into it when they've got more time at the end of the race. But for now, things are as they stand. Gunther also being warned for track limits, as is Harrison Newey, as is Antoine Hubert. There's not much point in that because Antoine is out of the race into the pits. So it is something that might be a factor in this race, has been a factor all weekend long. Now George Russell having to go super defensive here from Nico Carey, who goes to the right, then to the inside he goes, and that was a lovely dummy move. He tried one way, George blocked him, and then by the time he came back across to cover his line, the fin was there. And look at Joel Eriksson in the number 22 car, trying to get through as well for 3rd place. Lorandi locking up, Max Gunther locking up, both of them right behind the number 1 car of Lance Stroll. This is a fantastic race. Who said you can't overtake at the Hungaroring? They said that at Paul Ricard. We got some great racing, and here at the Hungaroring, more super racing. George Russell, a little bit wide coming out of the corner, so Joel Eriksson will now try and come around the outside of him, but look at the queue formed up behind George Russell now, and he's just fighting here to try and stay in a podium paying position. What a battle this has become. Look at Nico Carey has just rocketed away now, so I think there's no doubt that George Russell in this fight is sort of holding people up at this stage of the race. Oh, but wide he goes now, and he can't hold on any longer, and he's really struggling for grip on that car, and he's going to lose another 2 or 3 places here to drop out of the podium positions. That means Alessio Lorandi in 7th place is onto his case now, and maybe about to go 6th, so that car really struggling here. George Russell with a problem, and there's somebody else who I think has got a problem clearly, is Nick Cassidy. I think has probably had a problem for most of the race because he just has been struggling for pace all the way through. So Nick Cassidy, the championship leader, out of the race, and a chance for Lance Stroll and Max Gunther to try and close the gap to him in the point standings. Absolutely breathless race this. You've got Guan Yu Zhu back ahead of Ben Barnicoat. There they are, numbers 23 and 24 respectively. 8th and 9th. George Russell down to 10th place now. Might not even get in the points. He led the race 3 or 4 minutes ago. So, with all of that, let's give you the rundown of the order because it changes on every corner almost. We've got Ralph Aron leading the race. The Estonian is 5 seconds clear of Nico Kari. However, last time around, he was almost 5 seconds slower than Nico Kari. So that gap is rocketing down to 1 minute 41.3 for Ralph Aron, who maybe has used the best life from his tyres, and he's struggling big time now. So that gap is coming down all the time. In the first sector alone, 8 tenths quicker than the race leader was Nico Kari. More battles further down the order here. Harrison Newey now trying to get past fellow Brits George Russell, who has just got a car which is just not handling now, and he's just going to fight to get this to the finish, but I don't think he's going to pick up any points, unfortunately. Real frustration. The way that car has plateaued off makes you think actually George did a really good job to stay in second place as long as he did, but it's not to be, not in this race. And so Ralph Aron leading, but being caught pretty rapidly by Nico Kari. He was, what, 4.5 seconds quicker last time around. 1 minute 41 for the leader, 1 minute 36.8 for Nico Kari. Joel Eriksson is in third place, 1 minute 40.1 for him. He's not, well, he's catching the leader, but he's not catching second. And then we had Lance Stroll in fourth place, Max Gunther in fifth, Alessio Lorandi having a great drive through to sixth, Sergio Sette Camara is in seventh, Guan Yu Zhu is in eighth, Ben Barnicoat ninth, George Russell 10th, but fighting very hard to try and stay in the points at the start of the last lap. I think now probably going to be, yes, out of the points. Mikkel Jensen is the one that comes through to pick up 10th, Tveta in 11th, Harrison Newey in 13th, and George Russell down to 16th and into the pits. So he's into the pits, shaking his head, and yeah, look at the rear tyres of that car. A fair bit of wear, don't they? But it might not just be a tyre issue, it might be something else. We'll try and endeavour to find out what the problem was after the race and bring that news to you for the second race, which is this afternoon. So a real sad sight there. High Tech and George Russell, such a good effort in qualifying, such a good effort at the start of the race, but pretty early on it was a battle, wasn't it, to keep the drivers behind him. Now Ralph Aron has responded by putting in a better lap time last time around, but he was still caught. So instead of 1:40.3, he's done a 1 minute 37.7. However, 1:36.0 for Nico Kari was still 1.7 seconds quicker. So 3.4 seconds the gap has now come down to. Joel Eriksson has just set the fastest middle sector of anybody in the race, so he's been looking after his tyres, still got good pace, and he's 3 tenths quicker on the last lap than Nico Kari. So third is catching second, and they are both flying after the race leader. Lance Stroll pulling away from Max Gunther for fourth place. Alessio Lorandi still rounding out the top 6. We're coming into the closing stages. There you can see the gap. It looks big, but the way it's coming down, you wouldn't put it past a photo finish in this race. 1 minute 36.5 for Ralph Aron, 1 minute 35.6 for Nico Kari. The gap down to 2.6 seconds. He's got it down from 5.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds in just 2 laps. And guess what? Third place is even quicker. Joel Eriksson, the new fastest lap of the race, which is really impressive at this stage. 1 minute 35.0. We see Alessio Lorandi having a big go at Max Gunther down into turn 2. That will compromise his exit speed and might give an opportunity to Sergio Sette Camara to try and find a way through here. The Brazilian driver, the Red Bull liveried car in 7th place. Can he get 6th? Well, Lorandi, I think, is going to fend him off into the next corner. You've got Guan Yu Zhu making great progress as well in 8th. And this is a new generation coming through, isn't it? Because our top 3 in the race are all rookies. Ralph Aron, Nico Kari and Joel Eriksson. So the main podium and the rookie podium at the moment are going to be exactly the same as each other. They might just combine the two. That has happened in the past. It happened quite a few times 2 years ago. And the likes of Max Verstappen getting up there in the championship all the time. Joel Eriksson, super impressive at this stage of the race, where people were worried about the tyres degrading, to be quickest man out there and quickest lap of the entire race. Very impressive. There the lock-up from Gunther. Lorandi had to back off out of it. Sette Camara coming onto him, but wasn't able to take advantage of that into the next corner. Number 16 is your race leader, Ralph Aron for Prema, looking to become the 4th different winner from 4 races this season. 1 minute 35.6. Again, though, he was caught on that lap. 1 minute 35.4 for Nico Kari. So the gap coming down all the time, but Also, the clock is ticking down now. And we've got Joel Eriksson still flying. Another fastest lap, 1:34.8 now for the Swedish driver. And this might just help out Ralph Aron, because Nico Kari might be more worried about holding on to second. As we see number 14, Arjun Maini, making a move here on Peter Lee. That's for 14th place. Been a bit of a slog this weekend so far for the Indian driver. The team working really hard to try and get the problems fixed, try and get the pace out of the car. So Arjun not where we expect him to be. Had some really good results, really good performances last year. But they made a bit of progress in this race. So not where they want to be, but they'll keep working to try and get him further up the order. So 14th place, if he can pick up some points in some of these races this weekend, I think that would be a bit of a recovery. The clock is about to tick down to 0. We get one more lap added on at the end of the 33 minutes. There you can see the gap from first to second down a bit more to 2.3 seconds. I wonder if Joel Eriksson is going to get close enough to attack for second on the last lap of the race. Lance Stroll in 4th position. Then in 5th place, Max Gunther, who are both going to close the gap to the points leader, Nick Cassidy. He's not going to pick up any for this race. So he'll still lead the standings, I think, Nick Cassidy, but the gap between him, Stroll and Gunther will be much, much closer. So Larandi's still 6th, Seti Kamara 7th, Guan Yu 8th, Ben Barnicoat 9th, Mikkel Jensen still in the points for Muka Motorsport in 10th place. That's the way it stands. There is Larandi. Entertaining to watch as ever as we go into our final lap of the race. And Larandi not quite close enough to think about a move on Max Gunther, but he certainly closed up under braking. Seti Kamara going with him. Gunther still trying to get to the tail of number 1 Lance Stroll for position, the 2 championship contenders. It's early days for the championship, but they certainly are 2 real contenders, those 2. 30 races in the calendar this year, slightly shorter championship than in years gone by, where it's been 33 races, and this is only the 4th of them. 2 more to come this weekend, 1 this afternoon, another race tomorrow morning, where yesterday certainly there was talk that there might be some rain tomorrow. It's going to be lovely today, but maybe not quite so nice tomorrow. We'll see. We'll check on the forecast again later on to see if that has stayed the same or changed. Well, it looks like Ralph Aron has got enough in the tank here to be able to hang on for a victory. For the first time in a while, he was actually a little bit quicker than Nico Kari last time around. Nico's still been caught by the best part of a second last time around by Joel Eriksson, who's in 3rd place. And we've got Lance Stroll, Max Gunther and Alessio Larandi 4th, 5th and 6th here coming into your shot. Just a few corners to go now for the race leader. It's been a very, very lively race again here, but the checkered flag comes out and it is a first win in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. For Ralph Aron, he becomes the 4th different winner of the season here at the Hungaroring. Nico Kari has come through to take 2nd place, his best result so far in the championship. And fellow rookie Joel Eriksson back on the podium again. Joel has already had 1 3rd place finish. In fact, that's 2 on the trot now, because it was in the last race in France where he finished 3rd. So that's 2 consecutive podiums for Joel Eriksson now. In fact, he is, I think I'm right in saying, the only driver apart from Nick Cassidy who's taken 2 podiums on the bounce this season. So wide open has it been. So the checkered flag out on a race of very much 2 halves, to coin the old phrase, because George Russell led at the start, looked pretty comfortable for a few laps. Then they came on him. Ralph Aron took no time in getting through into the lead of the race. Then he disappeared off the road. He was he 6.5 seconds clear at one point, and then he started to struggle a bit for the last quarter of the race, and Nico Kari and Joel Eriksson made a really good fist of catching him up, and Nico got the gap down from 5.5 seconds to just 1.5 seconds in the end, but ran out of time. And Joel Eriksson's pace at the end of the race was absolutely brilliant. What's all that about, says Ralph Aron. I'm a race winner. Well, he was hard on himself, as I said to you earlier when I spoke to him after France. Surely he's not going to be hard on himself now. He's already a race winner. There is confirmation of the results. Kari in 2nd, Eriksson 3rd, Stroll in 4th. Max Gunther from pole will be disappointed, I'm sure, with 5th place, but at least he's picked up points on the championship leader. Alessio Larandi in 6th. Sergio Seti Kamara was 7th. Guan Yu, Ben Barnicoat and Mikkel Jensen rounded out the points. Ryan Vetter in 11th. Harrison Newey 12th. Pedro Piquet 13th. Arjun Maini 14th. Peter Lee in 15th. And the retirements were George Russell, Nick Cassidy, Antoine Hubert, and right at the start of the race, Callum Ilott. Here's a replay of the move for the lead of the race into the chicane at turn 8, and he made it stick through turn 9 coming out of the chicane, and Ralph Aron with a very determined move there. Cheered on by the team. What a young star he is. The team knowing well from their time with him last year in Italian Formula 4. And the Estonian takes victory. There are a lot of quick young drivers over the last couple of years coming up from Estonia in karting. Now, Max Gunther having to walk back to the pit, so he's had a problem clearly on the slowing down lap. Still crossed the line, still finished 5th, but the car's not going to make it home. And provisionally, this is how the points now look. So Cassidy will still lead, 54 points. Lance Stroll, though, has now closed the gap, 47 points, just 7 behind. Max Gunther on 45 in 3rd. Joel Eriksson 4th. Ralph Aron shoots up to 5th place with that 25 points for the victory. And Callum Ilott slips down to 6th position in the point standings. So Ralph Aron, Nico Carey and Joel Eriksson are the drivers that are going to make their way to the podium. And they'll both pick up 2 trophies each, one for the top 3 overall, and they'll also pick up trophies thanks to the fact that they were in the rookie positions as well. So fantastic racing here at the Hungaroring. We've got our weekend off to a flying start here, and there are still 2 more races to come. While we wait for the podiums, let's have a look at some of the highlights from that race. So, what a way to start the weekend here at the Hungaroring. There's another look at the top 10 results. Ralph Aron becoming the 4th different winner from 4 races this season. He wins by 1.5 seconds, but with Nico Carey and Joel Eriksson really closing him down at the end of the race. And he coped well with the pressure, Ralph, just when he needed to. He found a bit more pace for the last 2 or 3 laps of the race. Lance Stroll in 4th place, getting some consistency, isn't he? He was very consistent as well at the opening weekend at Paul Ricard, and that this year, consistency is going to be absolutely critical, because there are likely to be lots of different race winners, lots of different drivers on the podium, and it's on those weekends where you can't quite get the podium, you can't quite get the win. If you can pick up 4th, 5th, 6th place finishes, those points are really going to add up and be, I think, the difference between whoever wins the championship this year and whoever gets close to doing so. So not just about going out and getting race wins with so many races, and no drop scores, every round counts. There then, 54 points, as you see. Nick Cassidy, a retirement from that race, leading the championship still, but by a reduced margin. Problems for him. Very rare to see Prema cars retiring from the race. George Russell, of course, led much of the race to start with. There's Ralph Aron getting a huge hug there from his teammate at Prema. You can see in the middle Joel Eriksson, smile on his face. On the telly, he says. And Nico Carey, who is another young star coming into Formula 3 racing, who certainly acquitted himself well in the first round of the championship in France, and looks again like somebody else that could be winning races before too long. Got just the 1 points finish in France, but already on the podium, his maiden podium. Now you can see the back of Rita McKenna, who runs the championship. And it's been a long week for Britta and the team. They got here on Monday to set up. There was an official test day on Wednesday and media training on Thursday. And then the weekend itself starting with practices and qualifying on Friday. So now we're going to get the drivers up onto the podium here for the first time this weekend. The second race of the weekend starts at 3 o'clock here local time. It's just coming up to midday, so there's only 3 hours before the next race starts. And there, taking to the top step for the first time at this level, is Ralph Aron. Prema, once again, the winning team. up for Prema is the third win of the season now. Van Amersfoort and Callum Ilott, the only other team to take a victory so far this year. And Nico Carey for Motor Park. He's going to take that second place step. And here in third place, Joel Eriksson, his teammate, getting two Motor Park teams, the German team, up onto the podium. And now we'll have
Thank you and congratulations, guys.
So very well done to another race winner in Formula 3. These are names to watch for the future, that is for sure. Well done to Ralph Aron as he picks up his winner's trophy. Rookie winner, of course, but most importantly, overall winner. He kisses the trophy. There's going to be more of those to come, I fancy. He takes a super race victory. And there he gets his rookie trophy as well. As I said, not much point doing two separate podiums when it's the same three drivers. So two trophies to add to the collection. And it's going to be the same for Nico Carey, second place finish for the Finnish driver. In fact, these three drivers, this is about as close to a home race as they're going to get in the championship, particularly Ralph Aron here in Hungary. The Estonian, the winner. Prema, the Italian team, with the umpteenth trophy that they've collected. So much success. They must have a building just for the trophies they've won in Formula 3. Still very much the team to beat. But others like Motor Park and High Tech GP certainly are looking like they're going to take the fight to Prema this year. Nico gets his second place rookie trophy as well. And then Joel Eriksson, who set the fastest lap of the race and was consistently the fastest man out there once he got through into third place for the last 4 or 5 laps. Absolute flying after both Nico Carey and Ralph Aron. I think he was 7 seconds behind Ralph Aron with a few laps to go. He was only 2.5 seconds behind by the time the checkered flag came out. But Ralph hanging on to take that all-important victory. There is the third place trophy then being handed to Joel Eriksson to add to his collection. 2 podium finishes on the backs, as I said. And he'll kiss the trophy as well. Motor Park, the team who've put so much work into this, as of all the teams. So many late nights, so much prep over the course of the week, and then the gap in between the races. That's reward for their efforts as well.